Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian, and we have another new release that we're gonna get into. We are talking about the Wild Turkey 12-year 101 Distiller's release. Now, this is an export-only product coming in a beautiful package, but with it being export-only, that means our friends in Australia, Japan, Korea, they're the ones who are gonna be accessible to this 700 ml bottle. Right now, maybe we'll see it go in other markets, but there have been people who have been bringing these over. There have been these floating around secondary sites, or in our particular case here in Louisville, we have an older vintage, kind of dusty bar as well, and they'll get in exports and stuff like that as well and sell them by the bottle. And so they have those available here. Thanks to my friend Troy, we're gonna be able to open this one up and talk through it. And then along with that, we are going to go ahead and compare this to the Russell's 13. So this is a product that I think will probably most closely be similar to the 13-year father and son bottle, but that's a little bit lower proof, and I don't have it. I also saw that Dave Jennings made a mention to it being similar to the Bottled in Bond Master's Keep 17-year. And you all might know on the channel, I might be in the minority here, but I wasn't an enormous fan of that particular release because it was a touch more medicinal than what I typically like. But he mentioned that this one would be sweeter. And so I'm excited to get into this. We're gonna go ahead and taste it on its own, and then we'll compare it to the Russell's 13. Let's go ahead and get a nice little cork pop here. Cam Nelson, ooh. We're gonna let this sit open, and we'll come right back and get into the tasting.
A few moments later.
Give a quick glance here. Honestly, nothing too assuming on that color. Man, it's got some really nice legs, if you can see that here in the glass, but man, but that nose is delicious. It runs right off the bat into maple candy and tons of vanilla. It's really cakey. It's got a good amount of sweetness starting that nose, but it's not just sweet. I mean, that I'm leading with that, but then it moves into orange marmalade. There's toffee. There's a little bit of coffee, but I mention coffee sometimes, and it's definitely more of a prominent darker note. This is like there's a dusting of coffee on the top of tiramisu or something like that. There's baking spices, there's nutmeg and cinnamon here. It's not very cinnamony, definitely a little bit more kind of fresh nutmeg. It's very aromatic in the spices that it has. Warm, sweet, kind of leather note to it, and then a very syrupy like oakiness. I mean, the wood in here seems very balanced, but this is a wonderful nose, and I'm ready to dive in. Let's go ahead and go on the palate. Man, that is something. Like the nose, the palate does lead with a lot of vanilla sweetness. It's creamy. It kind of pops in the mouth in like a effervescent sort of way. Lovely leather notes, lots of spice going on, but it's not a youthful pour, so the spice doesn't come off aggressive. It is well integrated. It is beautifully spiced. Some kind of craft root beer notes. It's like kind of a little bit of that kind of minty, anise, licorice-like note, but it's not as dark as some other turkey products, maybe even the Bottled in Bond 17-year, or maybe even the Russell's 13. It's not that dark, but there's definitely kind of some root beer-like qualities, some kind of spearmint meets licorice-like notes, well placed there. Pipe tobacco, really aromatic, nice, sweet, kind of cinnamon spice notes, mixing in with that tobacco note. Big pop of orange, and very seasonally appropriate spices and like the things that you would, the seasonal candles, all the kind of spice scents that you'd have in there. You get that here in this glass with a long cherry-led, slightly medicinal oakiness to the palate. And the finish here is, it is a little bit dry, but it has a decent medium length to it as well. You get a little bit of chocolate kind of come out. The leather and the oak stick around, a little bit of that kind of medicinal cherry note sticks around as well. All in all, lovely taste. That it doesn't taste dusty. It doesn't taste older in a like the older turkey products necessarily, but honestly, there are some flavor pockets here that make me familiar with some of the older turkey products. Let's quickly go over to the Russell's 13 and we'll do some quick comparisons. Man, on the nose, the Russell's 13 is a little bit more maple in terms of its saturation, thickness on the nose, but leads more darker toned. Richer, a little bit more viscous, as I'd assume from the proof, but still really enjoyable. Let's go ahead and go in on the palate. I think the Russell's 13 definitely continues to be darker tone on the palate. It's a little bit more musty, but that comes with a little bit more prominent licorice, a little bit more dense maple, a little bit more kind of grape, raisin, the heavier but darker toned fruit notes. I feel like the Russell's 13, again, with the proof being higher, I'm not surprised it's a little richer on the palate, but it does tingle and stick around with a lot of darkness. Very woodsy spice to this, very licorice forward, but it sits and coats a little bit longer, a little bit more nuanced oak notes. Overall, I'd say maybe it is a little bit more nuanced, although it is darker tone. I feel like I can't emphasize that enough. A little smoky, a little bit molassesy. Still really enjoyable. Still has some pops of the brightness, but going back to the 12101, the 12101 is just sweeter. It has a little bit more lift, a little bit more vanilla right away. The palate just so much more balanced, approachable, enjoyable, with a lot of similar flavor pockets, maybe just not as much coating, not as much richness. And again, this is just the first pop out of this bottle, so this could potentially open up to get a lot more enjoyable the more it sits open, and maybe I'll review that again and do a blind with the two of these or some other products in a video down the line. I don't know what to say. I did not expect this product this year, but this Wild Turkey 12101 is wonderful. I would say this is definitely up there as one of the better bottles that I have tried this year. I don't know what the retail was on this. Again, I know it's kind of tricky to get your hands on, but if you're able to find it for a decent price, its secondary value alone is, let's say, half that of Russell's 13, but Russell's 13 is not twice as good as this Wild Turkey 12101. And like I said, if I were to blind the two, especially with this having a little bit more airtime, I could easily see myself picking this over the Russell's 13 because it has a little bit more sweetness. If there's any critique I have over the Russell's 13, as much as I enjoy it, I feel like it is that it has a little too much dark flavors to it. And I wish there was a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more lift for just enjoying it more often than I feel like I'm able to. Sometimes I feel like I have to be in the mood for Russell's 13, and I feel like I would more often be in the mood for the 12101 anytime, all the time, to hit the flavor pockets that I enjoy and that I think Wild Turkey drinkers would also enjoy. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know if this video was insightful to you. Let me know if you've tried the 12101 and what you thought about it down in the comments below. Hopefully some of you will get a chance to find this. Maybe you find this video insightful, whether you want to pick one of these up or where it compares to maybe some of the other products out there. If you want to see me do another comparison of this versus any other turkey products or other products out there, leave me a message down below and I can set up a video for another time. Again, thanks as always for tuning in, everybody. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Leave me a like on this video. Let me know if you're enjoying the content so I can continue to bring content that you want to hear talked about. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you all later.